Hey guys, so I wanted to show making a brush from a sequence. I've covered this before, but I wanted to really get into how to better use it. Um, I made a couple of sequences as tests, so I'm going to show you what I did. Um, right off the bat, I'll show you how I make the brush. So we'll hide that, go in top view. I'm going to run script, bring up an add-on I've been working with. I load a canvas, and so I'm going to load up this processed grunge that I made. And from the camera view, I'm going to crop. And that's so what I want to try to do is I want to make an area of about 512 pixels. So I'm going to type in 512, oops, there, and 512 there, and then use the pixels to border, and it gives me this. Now I want to move it around, so what I'll have to do is click the camera view, paint the actual the camera object to make it active, and then I can move it around, press F12, I've got that image, save it as, and I've got some already working, so I've got there, I'm going to just go ahead and get it as number 4, go for number 5, and you can see I've made several, so we can skip that part. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this. And then we're going to bring up our test mesh. And then texture paint view, bring that selected. And I'm going to paint on the outside of the image on the main texture. We're going to load up our brushes as a brush mask. So I need to load up the full set. It's a sequence. So I go back to the grunge set and I'm select all 5. It opens so that each one of them is the same size, but that's fine. But the main part of it is they have to be sequential, and 1 through whatever. They have to be named the same way. So if you got a dot and you have a dash, that's not going to work. They have to be done the same way. I'm going to reload it. I'm going to set it for cyclic and auto refresh. And under mapping, I'm going to set it for clip. And under alpha, I'm going to tell it to calculate from the black, so that way the white area is where it releases. And we should be able to make the best of it by setting it to view plane, rake, and random. And I don't want to have to just keep picking colors, so I'm going to use a gradient, and then I'll pick different colors here. So I can get something going, and where it's set to pressure. So hopefully this works out pretty well. Now we have 5 images. So on the timeline, I'm going to set that to 5. So 1 through 5. Press the home key to bring it up just the frames. For the first part of it, I'm going to just make sure that this is changing. So we've got under textures where the paint's going now. We want to click here to make the main texture so we can see it on the top. So you can see the first one, it's working pretty well. And if we ease up on the pressure, we can get some of the other color in there. Just almost dragging the pen. So try number 2. number 3. You can do this for, say, like images of different kinds of metal or different kinds of wood, and you can use this as a way to load up multiple brushes. You can do them manually like this, and then you can also set it to stencil. So tell you what, let me set that to stencil, and we can see what we can do with that. Stencil, I think it's Alt right mouse button to move it, Control Alt right mouse button to rotate, and Shift right mouse button to scale it. So that's what you're getting with it as a stencil. Which is actually, it's probably better to use it smaller, like that, or small brush, large mask. But I prefer to use it more like the view plane, because then I have more control over the variation. I have a better chance of getting some interesting variation. So one other interesting thing is you can actually play back. So we can start the animation for 4 frames. So if you press very lightly, you get better response. That means your color is kind of stuck in one zone. So now I'm using this right now as demonstration for the color. Now we don't have to go with this colorful scheme. This could actually be made to be a really good grunge map. So let me stop this here. Up here in our gradient, we can change this to just some muddy tones. Something not quite black, but not quite. And then since the pressure is going to, it's going to lean that way, we can do is we can bring this back this way. So it doesn't take much to jump the other side. Well, bring this back a little bit. And I'm going to top it off with a non-white, so I don't have as much of a but you get a lot of this modeling. But if you're not really liking the way this lines up, you could technically just use a different stroke method, like maybe anchored, pull out, kind of like that, to kind of get the scale and everything worked out. You can kind of see what you're going to get before you drop it. That can be really useful. But don't forget you've got other images to use as well to add on top. Only problem with that method is that it kind of takes the pressure out of the lineup. So you'll want to use, say, space to work out some darker tones, and then come back with the anchored for the lighter tone. So hope that helps out with anybody that's looking at making some interesting tones. I'm going to work on another video for how to use the layers like that. Anyway, hope that helps. Thanks.